Another fresh from the theater review, so forgive everything that's incorrect I'm about to say, except the opinion. It's might be incorrect for some of you, it might be correct for others. It's correct for me. 28 years later, Danny Boyle returns to the world of 28 Days Later, and then 28 weeks later. We missed out on 28 months later. Maybe if this film is a smashing success, we'll get the Netflix or Hulu series that fills in the gap with unrelated people of 28 months later. So this film is unrelated to the other films other than that it takes place in a UK that has been ravaged by not zombies, but a rage virus. That's the thing to remember about the 28 movies, is that it is a virus that infects people. They are known as the infected, or whatever colloquialism they call them. They are not zombies who have risen from the dead. They are not people who died and came back. They are people who are infected with a rage virus that turns them into these just feral, bloodthirsty creatures that just kill anything that gets in their path. Strangely, not each other, but generally human beings who are not infected, spreading the virus, as it were. So this takes place 28 years after the original film. It is set on an island. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. Initially set on an island in the British Isles, very small island that has a causeway, a pathway, if you will, that allows people to go to the mainland should they choose to do so, but only when the tide is low. Otherwise, it is impassable, and that protects them from the infected. And they do have a fortress, and it is sort of a return to mostly agrarian society these people lead. They lead a seemingly pretty decent life, but some people do need to go off to the mainland to hunt for food and forage for items left behind by the previous civilization, essentially. It's not really a very far out civilization that we see in this film, at least in the core people that we see. And initially we have Aaron Taylor Johnson, and we have his young son, Spike. And Aaron Taylor Johnson is pushing his son, or encouraging his son, to go out on his first hunt and leave the community and prove himself to be a man and a member of the community, and the rights of adulthood in this new culture. And they go out to hunt, which would be, of course, the infected. Not going to say zombies, because they're really not zombies. And this occurs, and the other thing that's going on in the film is that Johnson's wife and young Spike's mother, portrayed by Jodie Comer, who you may recognize. The whole movie, I'm like, where have I seen this woman? She was the girlfriend slash wife in Bike Riders. She has something wrong with her. Is she infected? She doesn't seem to be, but she has delusions. She's not all there mentally. Sometimes she's fine. She's in pain. She's got the sweats. She's pretty much bedridden. So there are tales of a rogue doctor on the mainland, who was seen doing very strange things with dead bodies that brought to mind Jonestown. And the young boy has the idea that maybe this doctor can cure his mother. So he sets off on his own with his afflicted, not infected mother to the mainland, in hopes that this doctor, who may be a crazy person, can maybe fix her up. So the majority, it's basically 3 acts, because that's how Hollywood writes things. So the first act basically is getting to know the young boy and his family, and what the world around us is. We don't know who exists on the mainland. The opening of the film, I believe, tells us that the mainland, it was sort of anybody outside in the infected zone off the mainland was left to fend for themselves, but the mainland maybe continued on. But we really only see things through the world of what this little boy can see. Little boy, maybe he's 12, maybe he's 13. And so the act 1 is setting up the world and that initial hunt, and coming in contact with what they call alphas. So what we get for the most part in this film are not shambling infected. They are alphas, which are basically naked madmen with flapping dongs. If you ever wanted to see zombie phallus, you get it. It is large and in charge in this film. And there are males and females, but for the most part, it's men with just crazy wild hair, screaming, naked, covered in blood and whatever, and just screaming and twitching, running at people. First act gives you that. Second act is the young boy and his mother on this journey to find the doctor. And the third act is who will survive and what will be left of them. So it's an interesting film. But like, I saw the other 28 Days films, 28 Days, 28 Weeks, when they came out. And 28 Days Later was really good in its day. It was a style that we hadn't really seen a lot of before, that Danny Boyle kind of shaky cam, kind of all over the place, multimedia, edgy kind of style. 28 Weeks, I honestly remember almost nothing about, other than there's a scene where there's a wall of flame going down a city street, and our protagonist seemed to just like step in the alley as the wall of flame goes by, and I remember thinking that was pretty stupid at the time. But I've not revisited these films since I've seen them. So it is good for me that this film sets up its own world and doesn't really refer to the other films in the series. It's good for you if you don't remember the other two, or if you've just flat out never seen them. This film is fine by itself. And I got to say that by the end of this film, it pretty clearly sets up a sequel. And if we know Hollywood, you can't make two without making three. There's probably planned at least to be two more. Of course, if the film tanks hard, unless they've already shut it, we're not going to see any more of this. The end of this film, so up front, it's a lot of that shaky, twitchy, stylish Danny Boyle stuff, which I loathe. I just frame a shot nicely. Let me see what's going on. If something's exciting, make it exciting in how you direct, shoot, and edit it, not by shaking the camera a lot. Which this film does, but it calms down after that. It does it a little here and there, but it's really not an egregious offender. There is a lot of use of weird old stock footage to try to draw parallels between this agrarian society and their hunters and warriors, and other times throughout British history, from the days of the knights and on horseback and the archers up to World War I at least. But the end of the film, the end of the film gets stupid. The film could have ended. There's a scene involving Aaron Taylor Johnson and water, let's say. The film could have totally ended right there, and it would have been impactful. It goes on for one more scene, and it gets stupid. And I'm going to give it away. So if you don't want to give it away, and this might mean nothing to our American viewers, all three of you who watch what I say. The little boy meets up with a gang of Kung Fu Parkour Jimmy Savile clones. That's what they are. I'm not interpreting this. That's what they are. Like, there's something earlier in the film where you see the name Jimmy like carved into a corpse, and it's weird, and you feel like it's going to get somewhere, and there are other things that have Jimmy written on them. And so apparently the next phase of this film, at least in part of this series, if they make it, is this young boy amongst a gang or a society of Kung Fu Parkour Jimmy Savile clones. If the whole film had this kind of weird offbeat style to it, that would be one thing, but it's pretty darn serious throughout the entire film. And then at the end, it becomes just like incredibly goofy for like the last 60 seconds of the film, and just like riddled with what I used to call the disease, which is just horrendous camera work, horrendous editing. You can barely tell what's going on, other than Jimmy Savile clones are flipping through the air and cutting up zombies. It was a very odd way to go. And by the way, folks, the film doesn't really have an ending. If you choose to believe it ends when you see Aaron Taylor Johnson and some water, that's an ending. But otherwise, the film just cuts to black, and it's Back to the Future too. It's, hey gang, there's more coming. Maybe, we think, probably. I think if they're smart, they probably shot both of these at the same time to keep the kid a kid, unless they're trying to go to 28 decades later. I don't know, but it's an odd one. Some people are really not liking this film. I didn't dislike it. I thought it was interesting. Some of what it did was interesting. I grew tired of the whole zombie movie thing quite a while ago, when it was just any and everywhere, and you had multiple TV series and multiple video games and multiple movies of every caliber. 28 Days Later certainly was at the head of that problem, if you view it as a problem. And we're now in, post Walking Dead world with this. So you can't help but draw parallels to that, where it's these other societies, and when society rebuilds, how does it go? And I always have not much patience, and I watch The Walking Dead, when there are these societies that grow up that are just like goofy and weird, like Boy and His Dog weird. Boy and His Dog is cool, but goofy and weird, where they worship, an old celebrity, like, I don't know, Jimmy Savile or something like that, or they all speak in cartoon dialect, or some goofy crap like that. I don't have a lot of time for. So that popping up at the end of the film, I was just like, but overall, I will say it was an intelligent, very humane horror film that some people might not have patience for, because there are long stretches that are just about people trying to get along and people trying to save each other, not in terms of peril, but in terms of life and health and things like that. There is peril, there is gore, there's a lot of CGI blood, I have to say. There's a lot of blood, there's a lot of, again, flapping zombie dong, and there's a lot of goofy, twitchy camera stuff. So your mileage may vary. Let me know what you think. I went into this movie pretty impartial, not really that interested or excited about it, but I didn't go in with my arms folded, not wanting to like it. So some of it very beautifully shot. Like there's some very striking imagery of the British or Ireland or Scotland or wherever this takes place countryside. There's beautiful sequences in like a field of dandelions or yellow flowers or goldenrod or something that was highly allergenic. I'm not sure what it is. So some of it does not look very good. Some of it's kind of crappily executed, but some of it's just flat out gorgeous. So in theaters now, as I like to say, streaming forevermore. What will your opinion be 28 years later?